Good day, class. So we're going to have a brief lecture about time management because I know that the midterms is fast approaching and some of you are struggling to balance out your subjects. So I thought that for this week, I'm just going to discuss about time management for a bit. Okay? Because someday, class, when you become professionals, it is important and imperative that you know how to manage your time as well. Okay, so what will we cover? So we're going to have a brief introduction to time management. So detecting the difficulties in managing your time, procrastination and strategies to prevent it, planning your time, goal setting and to-do list. So what is time management? So time management is using the time available to you effectively in order to get the task done. So in your cases, class, so the tasks are those that are given to you by your instructors in architecture to finish your plates uh, within a span of time. Okay, so you have to also remember that someday when you have your own practice, when you have your own firms and uh, construction businesses, it is important to manage your time as well. So right now, as students, the reward is getting good grades, but when you become, as you grow older and you become architects, you have more responsibilities towards your families, towards your workers as well. So therefore, you must really learn how to manage your time. So um, the leaving certificate is, for example, in time management, the leaving certificate is a long and difficult task. So to achieve your potential in the exam, it is important to manage your time effectively by first analyzing your time, keeping focus, setting goals, and scheduling your time. So let's go to analyzing your time. Okay, so you need to figure out, class, how much free time you have in a day or in a week. Okay, then keeping focus. So focus is really important, class, if you want to get things done. Next is setting goals. So you have to learn how to set goals. For example, in our subjects, which is building tech 3 and building utilities 1, which is plumbing. So, for example, for a particular day, you're going to schedule that you're going to work on, for example, building tech 3, that you're going to work on sheets uh, 1, 2, 3 for that particular period of time. Okay, so when you finish your task, I advise you that you reward yourself as well. So when you finish a certain task, after that, then you do the things that you enjoy to do. Okay, if you enjoy playing games, if you enjoy reading, if you enjoy music, if you enjoy eating food, so use it as a motivation to finish your goals. Okay, then scheduling your time. So it's really important that you schedule and manage it. Okay, so you're no longer in high school, you're in college, you are already taking the steps to secure your future. Therefore, it's imperative that you learn how to schedule your time wisely. Then detecting difficulties in managing your time. So you must be aware, class, on the different difficulties that you'll be facing when you manage your time as well. Okay. So first is discuss some of the difficulties you face when trying to manage your time. So you try to list down, class, what are the difficulties that you're facing when you manage your time. So think one of the biggest problems is that when you get too attached to social media, so I noticed that people tend to just refresh at the see new post. Okay, so you have to really identify the problems. Okay, so if you have additional responsibilities at home, so you identify those so that you'll know how to get over it. Okay, then yeah, diagnose your difficulties. So in order to manage your time more effectively, it's important to analyze where you are wasting your time. So, are you wasting too much time on Facebook, watching YouTube videos, playing online games, etc.? So, I don't really discourage you class to let go of your passion and interest, especially some recreational things. Because after all, class, we are human beings, and then there's it would be unwise also if if you act like robots. So, but the key there, class, is balance. You have to find your balance. Okay, so how much time will you spend in doing your project and how much time you're going to spend doing recreational stuff. So I suggest that uh, you plan your studies, the first thing you're going to do is identify the problem, work on there, then use a reward system. So when you accomplish a certain task, reward yourselves by doing the things that you like. Okay? So to do this, you're going to utilize the RAC method. First is record. Okay? So keep a track list of the things that uh, waste your time. Then you analyze, then you change. Okay, so changing some of your bad habits, class, is something that's hard to do in reality. So you have to do this slowly but surely. Okay, okay, so there's a video, but we won't go over there. So the next is preventing procrastination. So procrastination classes, I think most of you have experienced it. Something that if you have a big plate coming, so you just think I'll do it the next day. But the problem is that if your plates pile up, so that's the time when it gets heavy. Okay? So one thing, class, is we, your instructors in architecture, we were also once students, architecture students like you. So we faced the same challenges before, especially in managing time. So we even experienced procrastinating. Okay? Then to but to really class, if you want to avoid difficulties in finishing your plates, you really have to schedule and prevent yourselves from procrastinating. So procrastination means putting off a task you should be doing. For example, if you're going to do your plate in building utilities or in building technology or activity in professional practice right now, but you decide to do it later when the deadline is near. So that's not a good practice, class, especially when you are already professionals. Because for one thing, um, your work would be haphazardly done, so you won't be able to analyze the plans well. You won't be able to present at your best. Okay? So, for example, you need to get your homework done, but instead, you make a cup of tea and go on your phone and have a chat with someone in the kitchen. 40 minutes later, you haven't even begun doing your homework. So, why do we procrastinate? So a task may be too unpleasant to face or too difficult or very tedious or boring, or there simply may be so many other more interesting things to pull your attention away that you struggle to keep on track. Okay, so this is certainly an issue in the digital age when we all have smartphones in our pocket in a world of distractions at our fingertips. Especially class in your generation, there are a lot of distractions in your tablets, in your laptops. So mm, mm, that's why I think most of you are having difficulties with the deadlines because you try to cram all the work within the week wherein the submission is near. Okay? So one way class to prevent that is to schedule, like what I've said earlier. So you do things a week before. Okay? So if you've noticed class in our building technology and our professional practice subjects, in our building utility subjects, I give you more than enough time. Okay? But I think the problem is that most of you procrastinate. So even if there's sufficient time to finish, since you have a lot of distractions, so you do the things all at once near the deadline. Okay, so that is not something that is good. Okay, but I'm sure class will manage someday when you, especially when you realize these things. So strategies to prevent procrastination. So there are many strategies to prevent procrastination. So take action. Next is you research on the salami technique. 5 minutes, work on related task. Do the hardest bits first. So this is something that I do even my doctoral studies. So what I do class is I work on the hardest things to do. So even in my practice as an architect, what I do is work on the hardest first. Okay. In my doctoral also, I work on the hardest activities first. Okay. I try to finish them so that I still have a lot of energy when I do the task which can be easily done. Then also set goals. Okay, so it's important class that you try to list down your goals for the day. So you have to be productive. So you don't. It's not good that you, in a single day, what you do is only do Facebook, watch YouTube videos, play online games, because it would impact you when the deadline is near. And of course, you make commitments. Then, like what I've said, you reward yourselves for achievement. Okay, so what I do is when I finish something, for example, my doctoral studies, when I finish a chapter or when I finish reading around 20 pages, what I do is I reward myself after that by playing online games um, or designing my video game, my RPG game, because I like to design games also. Okay, and nine is change subjects regularly. Then I think we don't have a handout for this. Okay. So the three strategies in detail. So first is the salami technique. Second is making commitments. And the third is rewarding yourself. So what's the salami technique? So the salami technique involves breaking down the task to its smallest parts, then working through each of them in order until the task is complete. So when you do your building technology class, um, I would advise you to work on the very tedious details first. Then, as you go through them, I think you'll notice that step by step, you're going to finish them after a while. So this is very effective. You have a big piece of work to do and you're finding it hard to get started. So as the saying goes, class, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Okay, so salami technique example. So I think this PowerPoint. So it is a comparative essay from English exam in 2014 to complete. So you can break this down to first analyzing the question, then brainstorming your response, and from here on you can outline your answer, then write it section by section. Then lastly, you can review and edit your answer. So what was a large task has become a much simpler sequence of small tasks that you work through one by one. Okay. Next is making commitments. So research has found that students work best when they are given tight deadlines for projects and assignments. So they achieve higher grades and experience less stress. So if you're working on a large piece, such as studying towards a leaving certificate, you can give yourself deadlines to have different topics covered with a subject by specific dates. Then this will help you keep on track and make sure you cover all of the material for a subject in time for the exams. So in your case, class, case with this first background, this PowerPoint, I've taken it from one of, I think it's PowerPoint about time management from one of the university somewhere in the US. So there are some terms which are applicable, but I think you can get the general gist about time management from this. Okay, so is it true, class, the first statement that you work best when you have tight deadlines? Okay, because I think class, because from 'cause we have consideration for the pandemic, that's why I give around 2 weeks for you to complete a task so that you can analyze it well. Okay, if you work if you only schedule class the things that are activities well, then I think there's no excuse for you to not finish it on time. Because what's really important is that you get started. Okay, so reward yourself. So study doesn't have to be all pain, no gain. So when you get a piece of work done effectively without wasting time, you should reward yourself with a cup of tea, a chocolate biscuit, or a quick break from the books. So having this reward at the end of the task will keep you motivated towards completing it. Next is planning your time, which is really important also. So don't only plan buildings, houses, and infrastructure. You should also plan your time as well. So in order to use your time effectively, it is necessary to plan out. So by knowing what you have on in a given week, you can plan around your commitments to make space for homework and study. Okay. So life, I'm not encouraging you class to always just read, read, read. You have to find the balance. Huh? So what's important is work-life balance. Okay, so it would be different from one individual to another, but I think you'll realize yourself when you find that balance when you have already slowly achieved your goals for your subjects. So a year timetable, okay, this is good if you're going to plan for a year, but um, let's just focus on how to do this. So let's do this for the weekly timetable. So the finals, you have to plan out your individual week. So planning by your week by marking off the times when you are busy is a vital step to using your available time as effectively as possible. So use the weekly timetable worksheet for this topic to mark off the hours you're busy this week. So include school, part-time work, sports, and socializing. So this is also important class. If you have a part-time work, okay, so if you engage in sports, If your body healthy, then socializing, networking. Because honestly, class, you won't succeed in architecture if you don't know how to socialize and network with people. Then should be realistic. So highlight the hours you're free to get some study done. So it would really depend from one individual to another. So you have to understand yourself well for this to work out. So remember that aiming to study for 4 to 5 hours at a time isn't very productive. You become too tired to be effective in your learning. So you must uh, you must be realistic class when you plan. So can you imagine reading for 4 to 5 hours in a single day? So you get too tired at the end of it, or you become less interested in studying. So try to study for a block of no longer than 2 hours at a time, with breaks during this period. So most people can only concentrate for about 20 to 25 minutes at a time. So for example, if you're studying for an hour, it should be broken into 25-minute periods with a 5-minute break in between. So divide your study aims up to 25-minute chunks to work through them one by one. So you can always use a timer to help you uh, keep you on track. Then all smartphones can provide this function. Okay, so technology class, you can use that as your advantage, or it could be a hindrance to you. It's really up how you're going to use it. For example, if you have a good grasp of technology, you can really improve your presentation techniques and get clients. But if you're just going to use these new technologies for entertainment and it badly affects your grades, then you have to reflect on this. Okay? So in this pandemic class, um, you really have to make sure that uh, you read a lot. Then don't just rely on what the instructor teaches you at school. Okay? If you have to research also new things and try to explore, question and challenge the things and concepts that are taught to you in an academic manner, of course. Okay, so I hope you're all doing fine. Then good luck in your midterms. Okay, so please submit your activities on time before the final submission of grades. Then keep safe and good luck. So I know that you can do it, class. You can break the cycle of procrastination. If not during the midterms, then do it in the finals. Or but what's important is that you start. Okay. So see you next meeting and stay safe.